Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know what time it is where you are, but right now it's time for more insight. I'm your host, Chris Marve. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you help us grow this channel. We're trying to do some good things, y'all, and I can't do it without you. I need your help. I'm sending this to a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. And I'd greatly appreciate it for sure. If you will as well, lock in to be a member. Help us. That'll show your support for the channel. That'll help us. This is about the Colorado Buffs. So before we even get to talk about the first day of camp, before we really tap in with football, before we talk about offenses, defenses, what are expectations for this season, we have to talk about Don Ponder. Number 22 on your jersey, quarterback, Colorado Buffalo, passed away on yesterday. He was 23 years old. On the very eve of the very first day of spring camp, the day this program was supposed to take its first steps towards redemption, the Colorado Buffaloes football family lost one of their own. Don Ponder came from Opelika, Florida. As a walk-on, he's a young man who was loved by so many teammates. He wasn't just on this roster. He was in the building. He made his presence known. He was in the QB room. He was in those early morning workouts, putting in work. If you've seen Well Off Media, if you've seen Reach the People, if you've seen the Pregame Network, you've become familiar with Don Ponder. And I know for a lot of us, we get this access to the team via YouTube and social media, and you become fans of these players, which is why when something like this happens, it just hits different. Because you've become a fan of these individuals, you become familiar with them, and to a lesser extent, that's why when it's transfer portal season, our hearts are broken when we see these players leave to go to other teams because of the access that we've been granted by the Colorado Buffs and everyone who's attached to that program, who gives us amazing content, second to none. If you haven't already, check out the Pregame Network. They did a 15-minute piece of Don Ponder, man, and you could just see that, a leader for sure. And you could just tell that his teammates loved him. So want to make sure that we send out love, prayers, thoughts to everyone in this matter, his family, the family of Don Ponder, the friends of Don Ponder, the Colorado football team, even when he was with Bethune-Cookman, that team as well. So prayers, condolences, and to go away in such a tragic way, a single car accident, it just hurts. My prayers for everyone involved in this, that you all get the peace that surpasses all understanding. Now, what's amazing out of all of this is because not every team would have. The amazing thing about this is that Coach Prime called the players together on yesterday at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, gave them the news. They went into a conversation about what does this next day look like? Are we going to do practice? Do we need to take a day off? So you all can gather your thoughts as a team, gather yourselves as individuals, because again, you're dealing with young adults, very young adults in their 20s, teens even. So, you want to be sensitive to that. But as a team, they said this is what Don would have wanted. And, the answer came from the team. This didn't come from Coach Prime. This didn't come from the athletic director. The team leaders looked at each other and they said, yes, we are going to go. We're going to honor Dom's legacy. We're going to honor Dom's memory by going out there and practice. And that right there tells me a lot about the culture that Coach Prime has built in Boulder, Colorado. Because think about it this way. A great team is like a great family. And when a family loses someone, the strong ones don't fall apart. They pull together. They gather around the table. They hold each other up and they get back to work. Because that's how you honor somebody who loved what they're doing. And the amazing thing is people want to count this team out before they even strap a helmet on. But the first act of 2026 spring camp was a team voting to honor a fallen brother by showing up. That tells you more about this program than any win-loss record could ever do. Don Ponder put on that Buffalo uniform. He gave everything that he had to this program. The best way that these men could honor him was to go out there on day one and put in work. And that's what they did. If you think about any basketball player or any athlete, A lot of the time they'll say, whatever I have going on at home, once I walk through that door, it's my sanctuary. It's my time to get away. We can all recall when Kobe Bryant was going through his situation, the late Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul. When Kobe Bryant was going through his situation in Denver, Colorado, he would go out there in Denver, Colorado to court and go back to LA and start hooping. I mean, 40-point games, 50-point games. And people would always ask him, like, where did this come from? And he said, this is my sanctuary. This is how I get away. This is how I, move past whatever I'm going through. And that's what these players for Colorado did as well. So here we are. Spring camp open today. It's March 2nd. Practice is going to continue on Wednesday and Friday. 15 practices total. Capped off by the black and gold spring game on April 5th. This program is moving, and Don Ponder would have wanted it that way. Now with camp opening up, there have been a lot of changes to the staff. And let's talk about that, because this is legitimately historic and it needs to be treated as such. At the time of this recording, it is March 2nd. So we are coming out of Black History Month. But let me tell you something about Black history. Black history is every day. And for the first time ever in Colorado Buffs history, the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and the defensive coordinator are all African-American. All of them. Straight up black. Deion Sanders at the top. Brennan Marion running the offense, and Chris Marve running that defense. For the first time in CU history, and I know in all of college football, not counting HBCUs. I don't want to include HBCUs into that category. But I am pretty sure that this has never happened in the history of NCAA college football. And I know haters are going to try to turn this into something political. Understand what this actually is. This is about merit. This is about Coach Prime building the best staff that he could. And the best staff that he could looks like this. This ain't a quota. This is a standard. People asking, is this really historic, are the same people who've never had to fight for a seat at the table. Absolutely, it's historic. For the first time in program history, in the Big 12 on national television, stop playing with me. These ain't just football coaches. These are not just play callers. These are extraordinary people who are going to uplift the program. That is the standard in Boulder. And here's the thing. This isn't just a Colorado story. This is a college football story. Because now every young black offensive mind, every young black defensive coach in this country, they can look at Folsom Field, they can look at Boulder, Colorado, and say there's space for me at the highest level of this game. That's bigger than a win. It's bigger than a bowl game. This is why you do what you do. And Brennan Marion is one of those hires that I'm absolutely excited about. Let me put you on now, so you can say you knew before everybody else. Brennan Marion, he grew up in Pittsburgh. Section 8, he grew up in Section 8 living. If you don't know what Section 8 is, if you know, you know. I'm just put it like that. Life hasn't always been handed to him. It's tested him. He's been at multiple high schools. He's been at JC, on the JC level. At one point in his journey, this man was homeless, sleeping in the press box, sleeping in the weight room, riding city buses through the night just to stay warm. But football was always there. Marion walked onto a junior college, became an FBS receiver at Tulsa, set records for yards per catch that still stand to this day, and then turned that playing career into a coaching fire. From Howard University, William & Mary, UNLV, Texas, where he developed Xavier Worthy, now a Kansas City Chief. Pittsburgh, where he developed Jordan Addison to the Biletnikoff Award, the most prestigious honor in college wide receivers. He created his own offensive system. You're going to hear this a lot this season, the go-go system. It's an up-tempo, misdirection-heavy, defensive, suffocating spread attack that he built from his own football mind. If that ain't an OC, I don't know what it is. He didn't take his version of the West Coast offense and, make some tweaks. No, he created his own system. He became the first black head coach in Sacramento State history. Then he stepped back to come to Colorado. Not because he couldn't get a head coaching job. He was a head coach. but because he's playing chess while others are playing checkers. See, you put yourself up under Coach Prime at Colorado in the Big 12 on national television, and your next head coaching job is on a Power 4 sideline. I promise you. Some people would question why Marion would leave a head coaching job to become an OC. Watch. By the time this season is over, you are going to understand exactly why. The exposure at Colorado is worth 3 head coaching cycles anywhere else. This was a calculated move by a very brilliant man. And if you want to look at the coaching tree of Coach Prime, we've seen it. We've seen a tight end coach become a play caller, become the offensive coordinator at Nevada. On the defensive side, we've seen defensive line coaches be called to become defensive line coaches in the NFL. It's there. We're seeing, go back and look at Coach Prime's history of year 1 at Colorado. Look at the coaches that have been moved to higher positions. Just the defensive coordinator, Rob Livingston, everyone's talking about he was fired or whatever. The man got a job with the Denver Broncos. What are we doing here? And since we're talking about the defense, let's get into it, because last year was unacceptable. Coach Prime will tell you that. The players will tell you that. Everyone with common sense can see that the defense that the Colorado Buffs put on that field last year was unacceptable. The Buffs went 3-9, 1 win in conference play. The defense was ran on repeatedly. I mean, stumped a mud hole in them if I was Jim Ross. It was painful to watch. It was tough to see. But if you're a Buffs fan, you felt every single one of those gut-punching drives. You've seen game in and game out. You get that stop on first, second down, third down, boom, big play touchdown. If we would have just held them on that third down to get a fourth down, to get the ball back, you probably win 3 games. Probably. But here's the thing. Coach Prime has said it. He said that the defense was not good enough. He didn't make excuses. He did not deflect. He held the mirror up, said that this is not acceptable, and he went to work. New coordinators, new players, new leaders on the team. Total reset. Uncle Neely of the Pregame Network. If you know Uncle Neely, you know Coach Prime. If you know Coach Prime, you know Uncle Neely. He dropped some intel that I wanted to share with y'all. Chris Marve is a linebacker guy, and if you know football, you know linebackers run your defense. They are the communication hub. They set the front. They adjust to motion. They handle the checks, and they close gaps. And from Coach Prime himself, according to Neely, the linebacker room is the most talented room in the building now. Say that again. The most talented room in the building are the linebackers. In year 4 of Coach Prime's program, after 47 new players and a complete defensive overhaul, the linebackers are the most deep and the most talented group on the roster. And who do you have running that room? Chris Marve, a man who was an all-SEC linebacker himself at Vanderbilt, a man who built Virginia Tech's defense into a top 20 national unit in 2023, a man who coaches linebackers the way Coach Prime coaches cornerbacks, with detail, with pride, and the expectation that you will not just play your position, but you are going to master it. Look at what Marv brought in for that linebacker corps. And if you look at this linebacker group, you're going to see some names you may not be familiar with. But if you look at their stats, if you look at what they've done, if you look at the impact that they've had on their previous teams, you will understand why they are in Colorado. This is not a soft room. This is a loaded room. You want to keep sleeping on this defense? Fine. But when Colorado starts flying around in September and quarterbacks are scrambling trying to get away from that linebacker core, don't act surprised. Uncle Neely told you that Coach Prime said that these linebackers are that deal. These are them boys. And here's the bigger picture on Coach Marve. At Virginia Tech, his defense scored second in the ACC in total defense. They generated 39 sacks, tied for 10th all across the country. You know who else had 39 sacks this year before under Coach Livingston at Colorado? The Colorado Buffs. best in the Big 12. What Coach Marve built at Virginia Tech is exactly what Colorado needs. And now that he's here, with better athletes, with a more watched program, motivated by a 3-9 year last season, that lit a fire under everybody in that building, including Coach Prime. The defense that shows up in 2026 is going to look nothing like what you saw in 2025. You can write that down right now. Here's the thing. Coach Marve at Virginia Tech, they finished higher than Colorado last season. Now, if Coach Marve does the same thing in Colorado, you already have a better defense. If he tweaks nothing, you already have a better defense. Let's add in some context. Now you have a better linebacking group than you did last season. Now you have leaders on that defensive team that you didn't have last year. You're already going to see a better defense. One of the things I love about Coach Marve, he said it himself in one of the videos from Well Off. He said, I'm here for two reasons. One, because the Lord called me here. And my second reason is to serve. I serve by leading and teaching. A man who leads with purpose and coaches with precision on one of the most talented linebackers room in the building, it don't sound like a problem to me. It sounds like a solution. And anybody who calls on the name of Jesus and says that's the reason why they there, God is all over this. God is all over this. Now, I know there's going to be some people who Coach Prime can do no right in their eyes. I want to address the room real quick because there are some people who have been waiting since November to bury this program. Matter of fact, they've been waiting for the downfall since Coach Prime got there. They saw 3-9 and said, this is proof that Coach Prime was a fraud. This is proof that he can't coach. This is proof that he is just here for the money. Really? They saw a roster turnover and called it instability. They saw a new OC and a new DC and called it chaos. They saw this staff member leave. They saw that staff member go. Some of them couldn't hide their discomfort with what it looks like. But let's be honest. Some of the loudest voices against Coach Prime aren't criticizing his football. They're uncomfortable with what he represents. Black head coach who walks in with swag, who talks like me and you, who builds his own rules, who doesn't apologize for his standards, but he demands that the world respects his program. That makes certain people very uncomfortable. You want to talk about football? Let's talk football. Great. Every great program has had a down year during a rebuild. Alabama had a season of 6-7 before their dynasty began. Urban Meyer went 7-6 at Ohio State before going undefeated. Rebuilds don't happen in straight lines. They happen in leaps. And you know what comes after a program has hit rock bottom and responds with the full reset? They leap. This is their leap year. This is the reset year. This is the tear it down and build it right year. We got a new OC. We got a new DC. We have 59 players out of the 95 on the roster. We have a head coach who is more motivated than ever before, not less. You have a team that opened spring camp one day after losing a teammate, because that's what tough people do. That's what tough programs do. It's day one of spring camp. Day one. And if you already hating from outside the club because you can't get in, that's you. You don't know football. You just know bitterness. Come back in October. Bring that same energy, because I know I will. Day one of spring camp. And it started in grief because his family lost Don Ponder, a young man from Florida who walked on at Colorado and gave everything he had to this program. LL 22, number 22 forever. And the team voted to continue practice. They showed up. They put on their gear. They practiced because that's what Don would have wanted. And that's what Coach Prime's program does. They go at it again on Wednesday. They go at it again on Friday of this week. 15 practices. And then April 11th, like I said before, we have the Black and Gold Spring Game at Folsom Field, which is free. It ain't been free before. It's free this year. And then the real season starts in September. Opening night, September 3rd, against Georgia Tech. Shouts out to the home team, Atlanta. So whether you're watching in Boulder, so I want you to know what you're watching in Boulder is not a program that's in decline. What you're watching is a program building towards something permanent. A black head coach, a black offensive coordinator, a black defensive coordinator. The first time that you've seen something like this, making coaching history in NCAA football. A linebacker room that Coach Prime has primed himself on, who said it himself that this is the most talented group in the building. They're led by a man who played linebacker, and he coaches linebackers like it's a calling, not like it's a job. You have a go-go offense waiting to be unleashed in the Big 12 that has no idea what's coming for them. Juju Lewis, Brennan Marion, Folsom Field. This is a combination that's going to make defensive coordinators lose sleep at night. Trust me. And this is a team that's shown the whole country just on day one, even in grief, especially in grief, that this program has character to match his talent. We see you, Dom. We thank you, Dom, for your life. Prayers and condolences again to the family. Praying that the peace of God, the peace that surpasses all understanding, comforts you all during this time. I am Chris Marve. I'm signing out. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you tell a friend. Share this with a friend. Comment below. Go Buffs. Buff Nation. Let's go.